What's up, bro? In this video, I'm gonna show you how to flip melodic samples. In the last video, I went through in depth how I made the sample used in this beat, so go watch that if you haven't seen it yet. So I flipped this original sample 3 different ways. The first one I did was this one right here. So, or this is the not pitched up version, but this is the original key I made it in. So we have 2 layers. This is the first layer. And so the first layer, I just chopped up the original sample. And I changed the chord progression around to get like have this tonic or the 1 chord during all of this, and then we have a 1 6 7 5. So 1 6 7 5, and 5 going back into the 1. So that's a nice dominant tonic relationship. The chords played are this pattern right here. So the chords, we have this B minor, the tonic. We're in the key of B minor, so it's gonna be the tonic. B minor, and then so we have the B minor, the 1, then the major 6, G major going to the E major, that's the major 7, and then to the 5. And in the 5 we sus the 3 for a 4, so that's a sus 4 or a F sharp sus 4 going into a normal F sharp. So that is what is going on harmonically with the new chopped up chord progression that I made. And for processing, let's check it out. I start off with a parametric EQ, cutting the highs and the lows, and then gross beat to slow it down. And the normal what's it called, halftime curve you might know is just a line going through right here. And what that does is it will take the first half of this and stretch it to the full length of this. But what I did is I halved the curve and started again at the top. So that's gonna take just this part right here and stretch it to this, and then the next part, this part right here, and stretch it to this. So it's gonna double the speed of the halftime, if that makes sense. Which makes it so that I can play the chords on the 1 and the 3 of every, like the first downbeat and the 3 of every measure. Then I added a limiter to clip those peaks, or not clip them, but limit them, and a reverb for a bit of ambience. Again, as I said last video, take out the lows in your reverb, otherwise you're gonna have a bunch of mud adding up in your mix and you don't want that. For the second layer, we just have this little vamp. It's this part of the sample. So I just took the second half of that tonic and looped it over every single beat. I said vamp. Many of you might not know what a vamp is. A vamp is just a musical phrase or pattern repeating. So that's the tonic vamping, and the notes, the top notes you hear are the root and the 5. Like if we, that F sharp is going to be the 5 of B minor, and B is going to be the root. So yeah, that's it. Harmonically and processing, I had this EQ, taking out the highs and lows. Even though I added this for like fill out the high end, I don't want the absolute, sharpest frequencies. So I just took that down, and then I added a delay. Here we go, and back and forth. And a reverb. And another EQ to take down some peaking frequencies that weren't very nice, very pleasing. So together. And when I bounced the sample, I pitched it up so that the bass wouldn't have to go too low. So this is, if you look at the lowest note in the bass pattern, it's gonna be this beat right here. And I didn't want to go too far low. If we would have stayed in the key of B minor, that would have been F sharp. You can just hear that's getting really muddy, really unclear what note that even is. So I decided to pitch it up for clarity's sake. Next chop, we have this. Well, this is the first. Let me show you. This was the first one. Just this end result. What I did was I stretched that. And just kept that part. Processing, we have this EQ. Because we're going to bring it down later with gross beat. So I wanted to add in some extra high frequencies to take them a bit lower later on. Gross beat. You see the time knob isn't all the way up. Otherwise it would sound like this. But I wanted to keep in those a bit higher frequencies. Then I took them out. Just because I noticed it was a bit too much, but I wanted to, fill out the spectrum a bit more. And then a reverb. And for this one, I just wanted to stay on the tonic because I wanted to use it for the harder hitting part of the verse or whatever you want to call it. And if you have a sample that's super packed with harmonic stuff and chord changes and everything, that's going to be cool, but it's not maybe going to hit as hard as just staying on the tonic and letting the rapper do his thing. So yeah, that's what I did for the second flip. And for the third flip, I took the original sample, stretched it. I wanted to add gross beat, so I had to, what I was talking about earlier, like it's going to take this part and stretch it to this long. So it's actually not doing much, but it's like pitching it up and pitching it back down. I don't really remember why I did that, but it's just the original sample matched to the new tempo. So we have a, let's see. So you hear it like that's what it sounds like without gross beat. Taking out the absolute highest frequencies, adding a reverb, or actually I'm gonna add in the gross beat so that it doesn't sound too horrible. Another EQ, taking down some harsh frequencies, and a delay, and a last EQ to take down some of the absolute lowest lows. Then for a layer for this sample chop, or yeah, I also pitched up later on. But yeah, that's the original sample just with a bunch of effects. I wanted to layer it, so I added right before the drop. So this is actually a stock preset from FO. It's the Sim Synth bass good range preset without effects. It sounds like this. So yeah, that's just the chords from the sample. And I added a gross beat to automate the volume, a parametric EQ to cut the highs, another EQ to boost and lower the specific frequencies I wanted, and a reverb. Then in the second half of the pattern, I added this harmless synth. I think it's just playing a square wave or a saw wave. And I did an automation filter. But it's just layering the chord tones from the previous pattern. This is also a good advice. You can put automations into directly into the pattern, so you don't have to play it in the playlist, and you can bounce the entire pattern. So this is the automation clip automating the filter knob, or the high-end knob. So to build tension right before the drop, right? And other than that, we have a flangus, a phaser to make it go left and right, and a reverb. And then I added this bass as well, just playing the root notes from the chords. This is my go-to sub, a patch I made inside of Patcher. Very practical to have your own patches, just that you can pull up anytime. Right, and the last instrument, or I don't know if you want to call it an instrument, but is this vocal I chopped up. I just chopped it up inside of Fruity Slicer, letting it do the slicing by itself, not slicing it every beat. So slicing pretty much every syllable, and then playing around with the pattern until I found something that I liked. But you can see it's a lot of places just following the original, layering that with the second drop sample. Alright, making it sound really dark. And I was just inspired, by funk, very popular sound. These Memphis vocals, Stay tuned for the next video where I'll show you how to make drums that go together with a sample, how to add switch ups, and other tips and tricks. Peace.